Are you ready to return to the office from next week? Of course, Haryanto, you and I are not involved in this new exercise, in this new transition, but have you spoken to any friends? How are they feeling about it?
I have actually. So some friends are telling me that, they want to stay at home because they've kind of established a certain routine, while others, they want to go back to the office, although not for the whole week, probably about 1-2 days each week, because, they just want to meet their colleagues. And this is something that is also reflected in a Straits Times online poll as well now, in which nearly 2,600 readers responded. Now, 3 in 4 who are now working from home don't wish to return to the workplace. Some said they're more efficient working from home. They're also able to take care of their family while working. But the majority of respondents said they get to save money because they're not commuting or eating out as much.
And for those who want to go back to the office, about 43% prefer to do it. As Haryanto said, 2 days a week or 3 days a week. Most respondents who wanted to return said they miss their colleagues.
Are people's attitudes towards working from home really changing? Well, let's discuss this with Pauline Testron, Professor of Sociology at Singapore Management University. Hi, Professor. Prof, as this poll was to get a quick sense of how people felt about returning to the office, and 3 in 4 respondents didn't wish to. Now, outside of the poll, though, are you seeing a shift in attitudes towards working from home compared with when we first had to work remotely?
But it has been a year, right? This is how long COVID has been with us. And in this past year, all of us have learned. IT solutions stepped up, and many of us have converted, comfortable spaces in our homes to makeshift offices, invested in a lot of equipment, and we've just gotten used to now functioning from home, right? And doing well, right? Doing very well for some people. So you can imagine that now, in the announcement that we now go back to the office, there's another transition here. We have to expect that we will require, some periods of adjustment for those who have gotten used to working from home, and the flexibility that it accords. It must be quite disappointing for them to now have to realize that, there's going to be some structure to their everyday lives come 5th April.
Right. Well, some companies, in some cases, have had to incentivize the fact that some of their staff are returning to the workplace, like, providing couches, conducive meeting rooms, and so on. Prof, does that signal a sort of a change in power dynamics between employers and employees, with staff having been given more autonomy actually over the past year?
For organizations who have thrived and are able to continue business as usual, there's a strong trust in their employees, because now you can't rely on FaceTime, right? You can't rely on physical monitoring, and we've had to learn how to set tasks that are where outcomes and outputs are goal-oriented and deliverables can be seen, in very clear-cut, piecemeal, outputs, rather than clocking FaceTime, right? I think this is a very positive move forward, because what has changed in the past 12 months, I think, is we have established stronger trust with those who work with us, those who report to us. And I think it would have, in most cases, built stronger employer-employee relations. And now, if you have a very capable team working with you, you now know that you can delegate, without watching over their shoulders all the time, and trust that they will be able to deliver, right, the promised outcomes. I hope that what we have gained in terms of balancing, work-life responsibilities will not dissipate, and that we will continue to be able to accord flexibility to employees who need it.
Right. Professor, just touching on the point you talk about, work-life balance. Now, we are also, moving forward, we are going to see a hybrid model as well, right? A hybrid work model. But, do you reckon, are people and companies ready to adopt this hybrid model, say, post-pandemic, and make it the norm of sorts?
What I hope to see is we'll take the government's guidelines as precisely guidelines, and for each organization to then, recalibrate based on the needs of the organization, but also, the needs and the capabilities of the team, right? And every team will be different. For some teams, I think, you need to probably, returning to the office, to hit that 75% quota in person would be useful. For other teams, maybe not, right? Maybe we could afford to allow more flexibility for the flexibility to persist, because at the end of the day, I think there are three criteria we want to be able to fulfill. First, of course, that organizations' needs are met, right? Because organization must do well in order for all of us to be able to keep our jobs. Then secondly, very important, that employees' needs are also met. I don't think that we should trivialize the fact that in the past 12 months, all of us had to adapt to a new way of work. And many of us have found great joy, right, in the flexibility that we've been privileged with, and therefore would be very reluctant to go back to a mode of operation that, forces us to give up on some of, the very, very, invaluable returns to working from home. So we have to be sensitive to that. And of course, perhaps the most important is, the kind of work that we deliver. Whatever arrangement that we come up with, it should be the most efficient way and effective way of delivering outcomes, right? So this means that I don't think it will be a one-size-fits-all come 5th April. It will require some recalibration, important conversations between, employers and employees. And I think that where possible, to give each unit and organization some flexibility based on the staff strength that they have, right? And then moving forward, we can then all say that we have gained from this 1 year, and we have learned, more effective ways of marrying work with private responsibilities.
Right. Valuable insights indeed. Thank you so much for joining us today, Professor. We've been speaking with Professor Pauline Tay-Strawn, Professor of Sociology at SMU.
From next Monday, up to 75% of employees can return to the workplace. How do you feel about that? Well, let us know in the comments section below.